Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Wild World podcast. You probably recognize my voice from the videos on this YouTube channel, and I am joined with my co-host Mika.
Hi.
And Mika, unlike me, does have some background in studying biology and wildlife conservation, right?
Yeah, I have a 4 years just bachelor degree in biology.
Yeah. So, well, that's a lot more than me. So, this podcast is going to be us discussing any interesting wildlife things that have come up in the last few days or weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess to start, have you had any interesting wildlife experiences in your own life recently?
Okay, so lately, I've been seeing a lot of birds, mostly just birds. Today I saw a lot of jays and robins. A few days ago, I saw something that could have been a turkey vulture. Or a golden eagle, but I'm thinking a turkey vulture. That was pretty fun. They were circling over my house.
Are they pretty big, turkey vultures?
Yeah, they're pretty big.
Like bigger than an eagle?
Around the same size as an eagle.
Oh, okay.
And what else? Just at night, I hear coyotes howling, so that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Have you ever seen coyotes like around your house?
No. No, I haven't. But the neighbor's dog is apparently very afraid lately because he can smell and hear the coyotes. They come out at night, I think.
And that puts him like on the edge or something?
Yeah.
I don't really have anything too interesting to talk about. I guess I see a lot of birds. No idea what kind really though. And they're all soaked from rain.
Are they small or big?
They're pretty small.
Oh, okay.
Another thing that I wasn't even going to bother mentioning is that I guess I have a little spider in a little container with a makeshift house, a toilet roll cut in half where it lives, and I feed it flies
cute.
sometimes.
That's cute.
Yeah.
He's your friend.
Yeah, so maybe it hates me. Okay, so we're going to probably start off with doing like some news topics, right?
Yeah. Wildlife in the news.
Yeah, wildlife in the news. So do you want to do one of your stories first, or?
Sure, I'll start. So I saw something recently that was very fun. It's sort of tangentially related to wildlife. It's definitely animal related.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are a lot of parrots, parrots in people's homes. And the thing about parrots
not in everyone's home, but in a lot of homes.
In many homes.
Or
the
in
thing
some
about
homes.
Parrots is that they are very social. Not just parrots, any sort of social bird that can talk. And so they seem to be a bit lonely, especially if they're living alone. So recently there's been a development to help with that issue, which is a parrot video chat. And I think that's really fun and cute.
You can look up the videos online as well, right?
Yeah. So I think it's essentially a little iPad that you put in the parrot's cage, and the parrots can interact with the other birds, and they can choose who they want to talk to by a picture. And
really? I didn't know that part.
Yeah. It shows them all the pictures, and it's like, who do you want to talk to?
What if one parrot never gets chosen, though?
I know, that's sad, but they do seem that they have favorite friends that they prefer to talk to. And they seem really engaged. Like, they'll turn around and go pick up something that they want to show their friend. And it's just so cute. Yeah, it's great.
That's pretty cool. When you say talk to, are they communicating?
I'm not sure if they're talking at all, what they're saying to each other.
Okay.
Just hello, look at this neat toy I have. I don't know.
Yeah. That is interesting because you and I have tried to do something similar with a dog, kind of.
Yeah? Video chatting with a dog?
It didn't really work super well.
Well, dogs, they communicate with scent, and parrots communicate with sound and sight, so it's way easier for a parrot, I think.
Yeah, even though we tried to use an item of clothing, I think it was more confusing.
Yeah, I guess dogs are going to have to wait until smell-o-vision.
We move on to another news story?
Sure, yeah. What do you have from the news?
My one is a bit sad, so I don't know if we want to save it for last or just
Shouldn't
do it now.
Shouldn't we do sad in the middle? Because,
okay.
Why should we end on a sad note? That's depressing.
Yeah. Okay, good point. A few weeks ago, a news report came out about whaling in Iceland. So, have you seen this? Or
I looked at it a little bit, but
okay.
Yeah.
So, some people might be confused as to why there's any whaling, because it was officially banned in 1986, but there's 3 countries that still do it. Do you think you can guess which ones?
Well, I already read the article, but do you still want me to guess?
Can you make a very educated guess?
Okay. Japan, Norway, and Iceland.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess the point of the paper was looking at how long it took for a whale to die when it was being hunted. So it seems like the method that they use is still harpoons, but now they're explosive harpoons, I guess, in modern day. And apparently that's the most ethical way to do it. But it doesn't sound super ethical because I have some notes here. But apparently 40% struggled for about 11 and a half minutes. So even after they're harpooned, it takes, or for at least 40% of them, it takes 11 and a half minutes. And in 2 cases, the whales took over an hour to die. So
yeah,
not great. Did you remember, or do you want to guess how many whales were killed in 2022 in Iceland?
I'll say 30.
No.
Am I too low or too high?
Too low.
Okay, 300.
Okay, way too high.
Well, I don't know.
It was 148, and they have footage of 58, and out of the 58, 36 were shot more than once, 5 were shot 3 times, and 4 had to be shot 4 times. And one whale that was harpooned, they chased it for an hour, and it just swam off. So there's one still living whale. Well, I don't know if it's still alive, but one that lived for longer that still had a harpoon in it. So that's pretty sad. It sort of reminds me a bit of Avatar 2. I wonder if that's what inspired James Cameron to, like, for anyone who hasn't seen it, there's like a pretty depressing whaling-ish scene in that movie.
Yeah, it's actually almost the whole plot is about whaling.
Yeah, almost. And it's weirdly, the inspiration must have been real life because it's so similar, like the way that they do it.
Yeah, it's
or somewhat
weird.
Similar,
it's like, I mean, because when people get shot, sometimes it can take them a really long time to die too. So I sort of imagine like you're running away from a shooter and then they get you 3 times and you're still running and then you die a few hours later. It's pretty messed up.
Yeah. Do you want to guess how... Okay, so we said Norway was another country that still partakes in whaling. Okay, how about... So Norway has a quota each year of how many whales roughly they plan to kill. Do you want to guess what their quota is?
100?
Nope, more.
150?
No, way more.
200?
So their quota is 1,000 whales a year.
But why do they have a quota? Like, what are they trying to accomplish with a quota?
That's a good question. I don't know. I guess it's
it
they
makes
don't
sense
go
to have a
above
limit.
Yeah. Well, I read it as a quota, so maybe it should have been a limit, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. They usually don't go that high, so it's usually about half that are actually killed. There's a pretty good marine biologist on YouTube who I follow called Telly's Marine Tales, who I'll probably put in a link under this video. She was looking at the time to kill, I guess, for the Norwegian whales, and it was sort of strange because the government said it was instant, but by instant they meant 2 minutes on average, and they said that it could go up to 20 to 25 minutes. And I guess maybe it's controversial for some. I presume you're not super into whaling. I don't know. I've never asked you before.
I would not describe myself as super into whaling. No.
Yeah, because there was like this point that someone tried to, or the sort of counterpoint of like, well, isn't it better that whales are hunted in the wild where they can live free rather than animals that are farmed?
Well, not really, because like whales aren't domesticated, you know? Yeah. Or, I mean, I'm not really against hunting for subsistence for any animal, probably. But the thing about whales is, for one, it seems that they are suffering.
Yeah.
And again, also, I guess they're trying to recover their population, so I'm not sure. It seems there was a bit of a shady practice of pretending something's sustainable with whaling when it might not be, especially because it's so controversial. They don't want to actually, study it. It's more like polarizing, so no one actually knows if it's... I don't know. No one's going to look into if it's good or bad because people have already decided it's bad in most cases.
Yeah, apparently officially the whales that are hunted, the minke whales, I think, the main ones that are hunted, or maybe the only ones in that area, and they're not supposed to be endangered, and it seems like it's quote unquote sustainable, but there's also big gaps in research, so it's like in theory sustainable, but I don't know how much evidence backs that up.
Because, well, if you're saying that hunting whales is better than farming because animals in farms are mistreated, that doesn't really make sense, because let's say you got rid of all farmed animals, you're going to replace it with complete 100% whale meat? That's just ridiculous. Like, that's a good point, and I want to go touch on that a little bit in a second. But what I thought was a good counterpoint to
that idea is that I don't know about everywhere, but in the EU, there's pretty strict regulations about how you like slaughter a farm animal. So it has to be knocked instantly unconscious, then it has to be killed within 15 seconds, as opposed to a whale that on average 2 minutes and it can go up to a few hours.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, because when I'm thinking of hunting that I would be more favorable about, it would be something like shooting a deer or a rabbit or something. And as far as I know, they usually don't suffer that much. So, I mean, they die pretty quickly. So if we're comparing like, farm animals to hunting, if you're going to look for that as a good option, if you're going to look at hunting as a good option, then whaling is just a terrible example.
Yeah. So I guess you'd probably be okay with the idea of like culling?
Well, I don't know enough about the whale population.
Not for whales, sorry, just the general idea, I guess.
Culling, like
from a conservation perspective.
Oh, yeah, like if there's too many moose, yeah, it's good. Because if there used to be a predator in that system and there's no longer a predator, it's better to cull the animal because otherwise they'll die of
disease or something.
Yeah, disease or malnutrition, which is pretty miserable. And it's just not a healthy system in general to have a bunch of unhunted animals. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that we need to cull whales.
Yeah, I doubt that. I'm just saying in general, I guess. I guess that's sort of a side tangent, but I don't love the idea of culling, but I guess I can see its purpose. Although I imagine there's probably some shady practices in certain areas.
Yeah, I think with mountain lions, there's this idea that they need to be culled because they're so successful. And mountain lion hunting is a very lucrative hobby industry. I recently read a book about that where the scientists have to talk to the ranchers and the hunters and say, we get that you love hunting mountain lions, but just because they're really successful doesn't mean that they need to be culled, because mountain lions are very naturally dispersed across the environment. So if you kill one, then suddenly there's no mountain lion in that area.
Right.
And it won't necessarily have the effect that killing a deer would.
So I didn't know. In some places it's legal to hunt mountain lions, or is it?
Yeah, there's a mountain lion season or maybe a limit per season, something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so going back to the whale stuff, let me ask you a question. Why do you think Norway and Iceland are still whaling? What do you think the reason is?
Well, I don't know about Norway and Iceland, but I know in Japan it's because it's a cultural practice. There are whole towns that are based around whaling. Actually, there are whole towns based around whaling in other places too, but I guess now they're more about tourism. But Japan in particular, they don't want like outside morals or codes of ethics to tell them that something they've been doing for hundreds of years is wrong. And I sort of get that. It's like, why does one culture get to decide what's actually ethical, Yeah, but so for them, it's like, I
respectfully disagree, but
it's a cultural, I guess, treasure, and they want to keep that knowledge alive. And that part of the economy alive as well. So maybe it's something similar for Norway and Iceland. I don't know.
Yeah, it's sort of strange. So there doesn't really seem to be much profit in it. Officially, it's not. Yeah, officially it's not subsidized officially, but it seems that like there's loopholes around it, like lobbyists, and there's like fuel tax breaks, and there's like grants for like storage facilities for whale meat and stuff like that. And it's estimated that through like loopholes, it's about 50% subsidized. And
it's just stupid, I think. Well,
yeah, a very small amount of population actually say they eat whale meat.
Yeah, I read that most people who are forced to eat whale meat because it's popular in their town or whatever, they hate it. So it's stupid that people are hunting something sort of under the table, subsidizing it to feed people who don't want to eat it. I don't know. Seems a bit weird.
Yeah. And you mentioned Japan and their sort of reasoning for it. It seems like Norway and Iceland sort of a push to move away from whaling. Like Iceland wants to stop, I can't remember when, but within like 2025 or something. And I imagine Norway is probably not going to do it for much longer. Japan, I'm not so sure.
I feel like they'll just keep doing it.
Yeah. I don't know, I didn't put this in the notes, but about a month ago they unveiled the new whaling mothership.
Wow.
Or that they're building the new whaling mothership.
Sounds impressive.
Oh, we can travel 13,000 kilometers and I can stay at sea for 60 days. And there's two reasons quoted from the president as the the president of the company Kyoto Seipaku, I think, is a whaling company in Japan.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to read you these quotes and I want your reaction. So, first one, which I thought was interesting, is the reason for this is to contribute to Japan's food security and that it will be useful in times of a food crisis. Thoughts?
Yeah, so that actually makes a lot of sense to me as why Japan would say that, because a lot of their history has been about securing food security. Like, Japan is an island that doesn't have great farmland, so they're dependent on the sea. They have to eat a lot of seaweed and seafood. And, you know, that's why they wanted to have an empire, was so that they could have more places to have food from. But, yeah, I wouldn't bank on
how much whale meat can you harvest from the Arctic Ocean?
I'm saying it makes sense politically why you'd say, oh, we need to have more food security. We can't be dependent on other countries. But it actually doesn't make that much sense to have whales as your food security bank. Like, that's just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a stretch. And then the second reason is something you already said. So he said, unless a new mothership is built, we cannot pass on our whaling culture to the next generation.
Right. So again, I don't know if the next generation is that interested in becoming whalers. So
yeah, that's the thing as well, because I think Japan also doesn't officially subsidize whaling, but it's not very commercially viable, and there's like these loopholes.
I think they're
sort of getting
they're hunting
subsidized.
whales as part of a research project, not for food. That's what they say.
Yeah, but I think they've changed their position on that, and they've said that
Oh, really?
it's not a research project. It's like their waters, so they have the rights to their resources or something.
Oh.
I think like very recently they said that they've admitted that it is commercial whaling and not just for research.
Well,
I could be wrong, but I think
what I would say to that is animals that live in the water can move really far. So just because something's in your water doesn't mean you can have it all, because technically I would say whales are not owned by any country, and they're citizens of the world.
Yeah, I mean 13,000 kilometers away is kind of far as well. And that's sort of the thing that came up with Norway, because they were kind of getting some heat from countries since whaling is banned.
Right.
They said, well, it's our resources, but I guess minke whales like migrate and move around and
Yeah.
Have you ever tried whale?
No. No. Although I was at a sushi restaurant in Japan once, and it was one of those rotating sushi bars, and a few times whale came around and no one was eating it, so that just was really upsetting, because why were they preparing all this whale at a place where you don't order specifically? Like, no one's going to eat it, so you're just wasting the whale now. And I don't know. Maybe someone was there who ate it all up, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I guess that's like the other thing, because in a place where I worked in Japan, they had lunches served every day that, well, I never ate them, but for those who did, and one day they had whale on the menu, and I don't know, I was just thinking about this today. Like, I remember some other people being like, oh, that's interesting, I get to try whale meat, and I was like, oh, that's not great. But then it's like, it's worse to waste it if you're presented with it.
Oh yeah, I would have eaten it if someone gave it to me, I think. Although I probably wouldn't have liked it, because I think it's worse to waste it. Especially because it's not like you're going to encourage the person who gave you the food to keep buying whale, because they're not in charge, you know? Like, it goes farther up the chain than that. So there's not really an impact other than wasting the whale if you don't eat it, in my opinion. But yeah, I wouldn't have been happy.
Yeah, I guess so. Just one more question, then we can move on to another topic. Do you think Japan should stop whaling?
I think it's really shady for every country to agree that they should stop whaling and then to just randomly start up again. I'm not sure about the actual populations of the whales and whether there are some whales that you could hunt sustainably,
or ethically.
Right. But I don't know, just from the way that they're reasoning, I don't like it, because they're suddenly saying, oh, we might have agreed to that before, but these are actually our resources, which we've said is a silly argument. And I think there should be more thought about it than just, basically it seems like they're doing whatever they want and then trying to justify it afterwards.
Yeah, sort of agree. And I know there's like a cultural difference, and like maybe it is like trying to impose a different cultural set of ethics, but just from the whale's perspective, I don't think there's like that really matters.
Oh yeah, for sure. When we're not talking about the sustainability of it, like, I don't think there should be some cultures get to say that animal cruelty is okay and some other cultures don't say it's okay. Like, I think there should be a baseline of that's actually wrong and no one should be doing that. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was my long tangent about whales and whaling.
No, it was
Do we have
interesting.
our next story actually isn't that uplifting, I guess, now that I think about it. But
Well, it's sort of just freaky to me. I find it interesting.
yeah. So do you want to?
Yes,
Sorry,
I will
I was just
talk
going to say, do you
about-
want to introduce?
I will talk
Sorry,
about
go
lancet fish now. So, do you know what lancet fish are?
They're a deep sea fish that can grow surprisingly big.
Really? How big?
I just read this today, up to 7 feet long.
Wow.
So a little over 2 meters.
That is
I thought
not...
they were just like a foot or so.
See, because in my notes I wrote lancet fish, parentheses, freaky little guys. But they're not freaky little guys, are they? They're big.
Well, that's probably the max. So I don't know what their average is, probably. But even like half of that is still kind of big.
Yeah. So, well, the news about the lancet fish is that they've been washing ashore recently on Oregon beaches. So this is very weird because normally you would never see them because they're deep sea fish. That would be like if you were walking along the beach and you saw a lanternfish or something. Yeah.
A lanternfish, yeah.
Yeah. So they look like a scaleless lizard or dragon. They have a big crusted fin and they have huge, freaky, toothy mouths. Then they're silvery and skinny.
If you're, I might put a picture up on screen if you're watching this on YouTube, but if you're not, you should look up a picture of them because they're pretty spooky looking.
They're freaky little guys.
Yeah, freaky little big guys.
And it seems they're not sure why they keep washing up, but the theory is right now that they are chasing food, they're swimming, and then they're actually pretty weak swimmers. So when they get too close to the shore, they get too weak to swim away, and then they just wash up. But it's interesting for science that we keep finding them because lancet fish swallow their prey whole. So they're like a little refrigerator that stores the contents from the deep sea. And you can find out some very interesting stuff. For one, they're called cannibals. They're the cannibal fish because they eat each other. And also, there have been some new deep sea species discovered in their stomachs. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. So, like, I remember you put that in the notes. So no one knew about the species until it was found inside the lancet fish?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that is really interesting. It's sort of strange that they're like chasing food so far. Is that it's like a mile deep or something? Is their average depth?
I'm not sure, but maybe.
Yeah. I also read, I don't know if this is true, that maybe it might be the other way around, that they're being chased to the shore by like sea lions or something.
Oh, or something more mysterious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe it's a megalodon chasing them.
Maybe.
Yeah, 95% unexplored ocean.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Because a megalodon is definitely going to want to eat those little freaky lancet fish for sure.
Yeah, but that is pretty interesting. Do they know how many have washed up?
I didn't write that down. Let me look at the article. Okay, actually, it hasn't just been on beaches in Oregon. The latest was on a beach in Oregon. Okay. They've been also washing up in San Diego. It seems they migrate north, even though they're usually in tropical-ish areas. They've been migrating north to places like Alaska to feed.
Okay.
We're not sure. I'm not sure how many have been washing up. Sorry.
But it's not like they're not threatened from this. It's not like their population is dipping or anything. Right?
No, I don't think so. I think.
Okay.
And so it would be fine to eat them, except I hear they taste horrible. So.
Well, no offense to any lancet fish that has died. That's not a bit sad, but it's interesting that we can make discoveries from them, I guess.
Yes.
And it's also nice that I thought when I was first looking at the story that it's going to be like, oh, they're all going to show up, going to dissect them, they're going to be full of plastic or they're going to be full of chemicals, and that's why. So it's nice that that's not the reason.
Well, I mean, it could be the reason. I don't know if they had plastic in their stomachs, but it doesn't seem like that's a big part of the story right now.
Okay, should we move on to the next segment?
Yes. The next segment, Wild Chat.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I was inspired to do this because on Jeopardy, if you know the game show Jeopardy, there were recently some...
Do you want to briefly explain, just in case some people don't know what Jeopardy is?
Okay. It's an American game show where you have to know trivia. Right? Like, what else?
So you're given a clue and then try and get the answer.
Well, technically, you're given the answer to a question and you have to come up with what the question is.
Right. So, for example, it could be something like, this is the closest star to the Earth.
Oh,
and then the answer would be, what is the sun?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I just did that as an example. I wasn't testing you.
Okay, good. So I thought, let's see how much Wild World knows about the wild world. I want to I want to ask you some questions that recently came up on Jeopardy that were some very good categories for me personally. And I want to see how much...
Nice flex.
How well you can do. Okay.
Okay. But I can just answer them regularly. I don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to do it in a question. That's okay.
Okay.
So the first category was ungulates. All right.
Okay.
Do you know what an ungulate is, first of all?
I think so. Isn't it like a hoofed quadruped that's usually herbivore?
I guess, yeah, that's a pretty good
But
description.
not always.
So this was on Double Jeopardy, which is the second round, which is worth more points. So I'll start with the easiest questions and go up. All right?
Okay.
Let's see if you can do it. So first question. This ship of the desert creature can survive a week of extreme heat without a drink.
That's a camel.
That's correct. Well done.
God, why did you pause so much?
Sorry. Technical difficulty.
Sorry, can I ask you a quick question? I just said something there. I said a pig. Is that actually an ungulate, or does that really...
I think a pig is an ungulate.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I didn't make a mistake.
Probably. Maybe. Okay, next question.
Yep.
Rudolph with your knees so loud.
Reindeer?
Let me finish, please. Some types of this ungulate have knees that click, so the group stays together in a blizzard.
Oh, I didn't know that. Reindeer?
What's your answer? Yeah.
Reindeer?
I'm thinking caribou might also be acceptable, but the answer does not. It just says reindeer, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting fact you told me. Or do you want to say it? That caribou and reindeer are basically the same thing?
Well, they are the same thing. Reindeer is supposed to be the name for a domesticated caribou. However, it depends on if you're in Canada or Scandinavia.
Okay, so if you're in Canada, what?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I remember it correctly, but I think in Canada, you'll call them caribou, and maybe caribou are wild and reindeer are domesticated. And in Europe, they're all called reindeer. Yeah, I think that's it. I think caribou is a native word in Canada.
Cool. Sorry for the tangent. Let's continue.
All right. Okay, next question. So far you've gotten 2 out of 2, so that's really good. Are you ready? The spear-like canine teeth of the collared peccary gave the animal this other name, an Olympic event plus a final A.
What? Can you read it again?
Yes. The spear-like canine teeth of the collared peccary gave the animal this other name, an Olympic event plus a final A.
Is this like that vampire deer looking thing?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Final A, an Olympic event.
Do you want me to tell you the answer?
Yeah, I give up.
Okay, it's a javelina.
Javelina. I haven't heard of that.
Oh, you should look it up. It's a little pig, which does prove that a pig is a ungulate, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little pig. And the Olympic event is the javelin. All right, so you have 2 out of 3.
They're only going to get harder from here.
Yes. Next question. Arnie is another word for this ungulate with a liquid in its 2-word name, tipping and possibly breaking the scales at over 2,500 pounds.
A water buffalo?
Yeah, you got it. Very good.
Thank you.
Any fun facts about water buffalo?
We've seen them.
Yeah, that's true.
We were in a little carriage that crossed the water buffalo, went through a little bit of the ocean it walked through.
Yeah, it waded over a shallow part of the ocean while pulling a carriage. So that's pretty cool. All right, last question in this category.
Okay.
An ibex is a 4-letter ungulate ending in X. So is this, with one type being the scimitar horned.
What's it called? Oryx?
That's right. Wow, very good.
4 out of 5 isn't too bad.
Yeah, no shame here. All right.
Did you get them all when you were watching?
You know, I think water buffalo and javelina came to me like too slowly, but I could have gotten them if I...
Yeah, if you weren't under the pressure of like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next category is spot the mammal. So I'm going to say 3 words, and you have to say which one is the mammal.
Okay.
Can you do this?
Think I can.
Oh, that's good. All right. First question. Bobolink, bonobo, beta.
Bonobo.
Or beta? Yes, bonobo. That's correct. Do you know what a bobolink is?
Bobolink? No, I have no idea.
I think it's a bird. Let me just look it up. Yeah, it's a bird. Oh, it's so cute. It has a little hat, Adorable. Okay. And do you know what a beta is?
Is it a type of fish?
Yeah, I think so. That's what they mean by that. I didn't know it was spelled with 2 T's.
Say something really quick. There's another game show called The Chase that some people might know. Mm-hmm. And the people, the quiz brains on it, they have like tips for trivia. And they said if you don't know what an animal is, guess that it's either a bird or a fish.
Well, my tip for that would just be learn more words for animals.
Okay.
Okay. Next. So you got bonobo right. Very good. Or is it bonobo? How do you say that word?
I don't know. I just tried to say it the way you said it because I don't trust myself.
Oh, yeah. I know sometimes words are hard. It's bonobo. So.
Bonobo. Okay.
Or it could be bonobo. Could be either, I guess.
All right.
Anyway, moving on. Next question. Impala, ibis, indigo.
As an IBEX?
No, ibis, IBIS.
Oh, okay. Impala?
Yes. Did you actually, was that hard for you?
I thought you said an ibex.
No, I said impala, ibis, indigo.
Oh, okay.
I see. So you were confused because you thought there were 2 answers?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Oh. So, well, do you know what an impala is, I'm sure. Do you know what an ibis is?
Ibis, is it a bird?
Yeah. And how about indigo?
Indigo sounds like either a bird or a fish.
I think indigo is just a plant. Sorry. It's what they make dye out of, indigo dye.
Yeah, but it might be a name of an animal as well.
I don't think it is. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, there is something called the Chinese indigo, which is also a plant. There's something called the indigo snake, indigo bunting. So those are animals. But just indigo by itself is a plant. Oh. All right. Next. Nutria, nudibranch, natterjack.
Nutria, isn't it? Isn't that like the water rodent?
Yeah, very good. And do you know what a nudibranch is?
Yeah, it's isn't that the proper name for or another name for a sea slug?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if those are exactly the same thing. Let me see. Nudibranch they're mollusks, marine gastropod mollusks, and they're also known as sea rabbit. So maybe they're often casually called sea slugs. They're a family. Sea slugs aren't just one group, so it's a bit, they're not exactly sea slugs, but they also are sea slugs.
Right. It's like the casual name, but it's not really accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what about a natterjack?
Natterjack. I'm going to say it's either a fish or a bird.
No. It's a little toad.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Did you know that?
No.
Oh. They're sort of cute, actually. I mean, I keep saying they're all cute, but all right.
Lots of animals are cute.
They are. Next question. Orb weaver, oyster catcher, okapi.
Okapi. Orb weaver is a spider. Oyster catcher is a bird.
I think so. Yeah, oyster catchers are definitely a bird. They have a nice red beak. Yeah. And then okapis are mammals, yeah. All right, last question.
Oh, I thought that was the last one.
No, this is the last one. Adder, amberjack, aye.
Aye.
Very good. Oh, the person who answered this said, what is amberjack? They were wrong. You know what an amberjack is, right?
Amberjack is a fish.
Yeah. So
kind of biggish fish, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought it was funny that they thought amberjack was the answer, but I guess not everyone knows, all the animals in the world, so that's all right.
Yeah. I guess I kind of just knew that one as soon as you said aye, because that's like the image of an aye is like burned into a lot of people's brains.
Burned into their eyes?
Aye. Yeah.
Yeah, eyes are cute as well. Amberjacks are a fish. I mean, maybe they're cute. And then an adder. Do you know what an adder is?
A type of snake, isn't it?
Yeah, they're pretty cute too. Although their little tongues. All right. So that's all. Those are all my trivia.
Cool. What is our
You did a great job. I think you got. Did you get 9 out of 10?
I think so.
Wow. So we don't have to discredit you as Wild World just yet.
Not yet. Maybe next week.
Yeah. So next segment is Cryptid Court, something I think a lot of people are excited for.
Hopefully. So basically the idea for this is that we're going to get a cryptid and then we're just going to try and have a casual debate as to whether it's real or not real. And just to make it more interesting, I guess I'll just always or almost always just take the position of it being real, and I guess you'll take the position of it not being real.
Okay. So I'm the realistic one and you're the dreamer.
Yeah. You think with your brain, but I think with my heart.
Aw.
So the way we chose it is that we went to you went to a cryptid random chooser or something.
Yeah, a random cryptid generator.
Yeah. So for next time, what we might do, if people want, is that we'll go to the random cryptid generator, get 3, and then I'll put a poll up on probably the community tab on YouTube, and people can vote which one they want us to talk about.
Which one we want to put on trial.
Yeah.
In the cryptid court.
Yeah. So, do you want to say what one we're doing this week?
All right. I need to figure out how to pronounce it first so I don't make a horrible mistake.
I think I listened to a person from the Philippines say it.
Well, then you're the expert. You should say it.
I think it's just Sigbin.
Sigbin?
Like Sigbin, I think.
All right.
I'm not the expert on pronouncing things, though. Everybody knows.
So this week, Cryptid Court is for Sigbin from the Philippines.
So would you like to maybe just give very briefly what it is and maybe why you think it's not actually real?
All right. Well, the first thing is on the Wikipedia page, it says it's from Philippine mythology, which a creature from mythology is a little different, some would say, than a cryptid.
There's some overlap, but yeah.
Yeah. So it says that it comes out at night and sucks the blood of victims from their shadows. It walks backwards and it can become invisible, especially to humans. It looks like a hornless goat, has very large ears, a long, flexible tail. Some people say it looks like a dog. Yeah, and it's supposed to smell really bad.
Now tell me, why do you think this isn't real?
Well, first of all, like I said, it's a mythological creature, which I give a lot more leeway to mythology as not necessarily being real. Like, just because you believe, like someone who believes in ghosts doesn't necessarily think that ghosts are a cryptid that you have to, prove to be real biologically. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But also, I just find it funny. Again, I'm getting most of my data or most of my information from the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, there's not... Sorry, just to cut in. I'd never heard of this before. We generated it, and there's not a lot of info out there.
Yeah, and it just has a lot of features that don't seem very real-life animal to me, such as, being invisible, clapping its ears like hands. Another thing is it says it comes forth during Holy Week, looking for children that it will kill for their hearts and then fashion into amulets, which is
unlucky.
Why would an animal do that? I mean, why would it only come out during Holy Week, which is a human religious event? Why would it only kill children during that time? And then why would it turn them into amulets? Like, doesn't it need to eat? I don't know. It's strange, very strange to me. Mm-hmm. There's more info that it all doesn't add up, which is that some other mythological creatures in the Philippines are said to keep them as pets inside jars. So either they're really big jars or these creatures can change their size, which doesn't seem very real to me. Well, I guess unless they're an octopus, but what else? I don't know. They just don't seem that real. And if you look at pictures, the pictures look sort of crazy. Like you're playing D&D or something. They just don't look that real. But there is one angle I will concede on that maybe you want to talk about since you're on the positive side, right?
Yeah. Okay, so
why are they real? Tell me.
So I guess I have to make a few concessions. I think that if this is I think this is a real creature. Anyway, no, this is what I'm arguing. It may not necessarily reflect what I actually believe. But let's say this is a real creature, and as you described, there's a lot of mythology and certain things that don't seem very possible. But I think if we look at animals throughout history and even today, a lot of times regular animals have supernatural qualities attributed to them. Like, isn't the eye considered like a dangerous creature to some?
Maybe it's dangerous because its eyes are so big,
Well, I don't think it's actually dangerous, but people are superstitious about it. So they kill them out of fear. Well,
it's scary that you're walking around and you see this animal with huge eyes. Oh man, what's that? you know?
Yeah, but I think there's something more to it. I don't think it's just...
Yeah, I know. I got
Or
you.
even like, I mean, even in Western culture, like there are animals that aren't as dangerous as they're portrayed to be.
Yeah, like cats.
Like, are cats portrayed to be dangerous?
The bad luck. If a cat, a black cat, they're not going to hurt you.
Right. So I think perhaps it could be a real animal that just has extra qualities attributed to it. Like, for example, the invisible thing. I mean, maybe it's just very good at, camouflaging, or it's good at disappearing very quickly. I talked a little bit about this in my first ever video, but about the tiger and how it was able to get extremely close to people in like grass that was only a few feet high.
So you're saying tigers can turn invisible?
I'm not saying they can turn invisible, but I'm saying if you were out, in the country and a tiger just came out of nowhere and then seemed to disappear again, maybe to some people they describe that as it being able to turn invisible. It's not actually going invisible, it's just hiding very well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The type of animal that it actually is or could be, some people have said it might be a type of kangaroo.
Kangaroos in the Philippines? Do explain.
Perhaps millions of years ago, some kangaroo ancestor or something close to a kangaroo traveled to that area. And there's a few reasons for this. So, well, firstly, a lot of the images, like there are a lot of crazy images of it, but some of the more tame ones resemble a kangaroo. There's even a statue, I think, in Cebu or outside of Cebu, an artist's depiction of the Sigbin, and it looks identical to a kangaroo. Another thing is that you mentioned the smell.
Right.
So apparently kangaroos stink. Male Western kangaroos are sometimes referred to as stinkers.
Oh.
And apparently this is pretty gross, but the way like a joey would be in a kangaroo's pouch?
Yeah.
You probably already know this, but the joey just goes to the bathroom in the pouch, like all the time. So kangaroos apparently stink really bad.
What about male kangaroos? Do they also stink?
Yeah, well, the male Western grey kangaroos stink for some reason.
But if there's no joey, in there, then what's their excuse?
I'm not sure the reasoning behind that. I don't know.
All right.
What else? You mentioned that they were owned by other cryptids?
Not cryptids, mythological
creatures.
Some mythological humanoid demon type things keep them as pets.
Okay. I've read that some accounts that rich people have them as pets.
Oh.
What else? Another thing is that most of the sightings happen in rural areas, where I'd imagine there'd be more cover for them to live in. And as a sort of an overall point, I was reading about the Philippines. Did you know that it's the greatest concentration of unique mammals in the world?
I did not know that.
And that the mountains in the Philippines are some of the most biodiverse places on Earth?
I didn't know that.
So perhaps, like just in 2022, they discovered a new type of shrew mouse there.
Huh.
So maybe there's a kangaroo that lives there too that stinks.
That could be fun. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, if it's a kangaroo type thing, that's interesting. Yeah. But can I just talk about this line in the Wikipedia article that I find very strange?
Yeah, go for it.
So it says, it was often described by some as having a red-brownish hue, suggesting it might be the red kangaroo. Although the dietary comparison between the Sigbin and the kangaroo are far too similar, since the latter is an herbivore. What does that mean?
That must be a typo. It must have been far too different. Because in the mythology, it drinks blood, right?
Yeah. However, bats, lots of bats eat fruit, and then other bats drink blood, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I guess
what's the verdict of the cryptid court?
Well, I was thinking maybe people, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment who you think won the...
Oh, yeah. Make your own decision.
Yeah. And tell us who you think made a better argument.
Well, mostly what we did was just read from the Wikipedia page. If you know
I
more
watched
information,
a few videos actually.
Oh, that's good. Well, I didn't. If you know more information about the Sigbin that we haven't mentioned, please tell us so that we can inform ourselves.
Yeah, especially
or
if you've
seen
from
one, right? Yeah, if you've seen one, please attach a link to an image that you've taken personally.
Yes. We'll download any links you send, no questions asked. Yeah, I was going to say as well, if you've from the Philippines and you've heard legends of this, like stories and stuff, do let us know. But yeah, who knows what we'll talk about next week.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, do you want to move on?
Yeah, so next I wanted to read out the questions that we've received from viewers.
Yeah, I just want to quickly, if a viewer wants to send in a question, where can they send it to?
They can send it to our email address, which is thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep, thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com. No capitals.
I don't think capitals matter, right? But
maybe not.
Better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. Okay.
Are you ready for the first question for the podcast?
Sure. And thank you for sending in a question.
Yes, thank you. So, the first question is from Queen Rainer. Yeah.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the not deer cryptid? I fell into a rabbit hole when researching Appalachian Mountain myths, and I would love to hear what you think about it. So I had never heard of this before. Not deer cryptid.
Okay. Have you looked it up or anything?
Yeah, a little bit. I wanted to know what you thought because you know more about cryptids than me.
So I don't know too much about this one, but I think it's basically an animal that superficially resembles a deer, but isn't a deer, hence the name not deer.
So like a camel? No,
like closer to an actual deer. Like it could be mistaken for a deer, I guess.
But how is it a cryptid? Like it's...
Well, I think it's, instead of a herbivore, it's a predator.
Oh, so a predatory deer.
Yeah, and I think it's bigger than a regular deer usually, and supposedly more intelligent.
Sounds like a movie I've seen.
And can walk on two legs in some sightings.
Yeah, I've seen a horror movie with a not deer then as the main evil entity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. It's not a cryptid you hear about that much, and it's pretty unsettling, I think, that it's like pretending to be a harmless herbivorous creature, but it's not.
Yeah.
I've read a little bit on the Reddit page, on the cryptozoology Reddit page about the not deer, and people said it came from a creepypasta. That seemed to be the common consensus, so I don't know how much it's based on actual sightings.
Well, I'm reading now that it could be explained by chronic wasting disease because animals with chronic wasting disease act different than normal animals. So it could just be a deer that's sick.
Yeah, I think this is one that could easily be just a kind of strange looking deer, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think it's very likely, but I think it's pretty creepy and interesting.
Yeah.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you. Is there any example of a predator that looks like its prey, that pretends to look like its prey?
Maybe a praying mantis because it looks like a leaf.
But it doesn't prey on leaves, does it?
No, what I'm saying is a praying mantis just sits there looking like a plant, and then an animal will land near it, and then it'll eat you.
Yeah, I guess I mean like assuming that the not deer eats deer.
Is that what it eats?
Is there any example?
Oh,
well, I think it's a carnivore. I don't know.
I thought maybe it eats people. How would you know what it eats?
I think it's been described as eating meat.
Yeah, people are meat. I mean, why do you think?
Oh, so you think it's trying to trick people, not other forest animals?
Why would it specifically try to trick deer?
I don't know. I thought there'd be more deer to eat than people. If
Maybe
you live in
it eats
forest.
whatever it can find.
Fair enough.
Animals that... I don't know. I mean, fish eat each other all the time. And they don't even have to pretend. They just, like... they just swim up and eat each other, so...
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you. So we have another question from Anthony. Anthony says, "Hello. I recently found your channel and got hooked. Amazing content. Keep it up." If you could choose one single cryptid to be real, which one would you choose and why?
Oh, good question. And thank you for the kind words, Anthony. That's very nice of you. That's tough. Do you have any opinions?
So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking I don't want it to be something that has gone extinct that we're still looking for, because I don't want to choose between. I wish all of the extinct animals were back. So I want to choose an animal that has never been proven to be real. And so for that reason, I would like to choose, I'm going to say the Loch Ness Monster, which sort of goes against the rule that I just said. But it's different because it's a freshwater. I mean, I don't know. It seems different to me.
It might not be a reptile.
Yeah, it might not be a plesiosaur. It might be just itself, the Loch Ness Monster. I think that's fun because I like the idea of riding it around and becoming friends with it. It's just fun to imagine that there's a huge creature living in a lake like that has its own little society and maybe not a society, a bunch of other ones just like it. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that alive now. There's no huge mammalian, no huge aquatic reptile with a huge long neck and everything. It's just missing from our world today. So
that we know of. Right. That's really hard.
Choose Sigbin.
I guess. I get your point about the extinct thing, but also like it could kind of tick a couple of boxes at one go if like a dinosaur was still alive.
What, like a chicken?
Good point. If a non-avian dinosaur was still alive. So like there's this there's sort of a famous cryptid from the Congo called Mekele Mbembe, I think. It's supposed to be like a sauropod that lives in the swamps. But there is also this other account of a large theropod predator from Kasai Valley, I think. There's only one account of it, and the guy also had a picture of like a clearly photoshopped lizard, so it's not considered very likely, but it'd be cool to see a dinosaur and a cryptid, a non-avian big dinosaur and a cryptid.
Okay, very well.
Or Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, that's a good answer, for real.
I mean, sort of the king of the cryptids.
Oh, the king. That's cute. Well, I think the Loch Ness Monster is the queen of the cryptids then.
Fair enough.
So we both chose the best ones.
We chose the basic ones.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, thank you very much for your question, Anthony.
That's the last question, so.
Okay. Can I just say really quickly, I don't know when this is going to be uploaded, so there's a chance you may be listening to this and have already sent a question. It's just that we recorded it before we got your question.
Mm-hmm. So should we finish it off, right?
Did you want to do that other
Yeah,
segment?
this is how I want to finish it off, the podcast today.
Okay.
So I want to read out some comments from your channel. Some of them are funny. I mean, they're all interesting. And I want to hear your response to them, okay? And I want you to guess what video they're from.
Okay. And don't worry, anyone, we're not going to say any names.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one I just thought was interesting. But thylacines are believed to have lived and hunted in open areas, not densely wooded country. It's a bit like saying some long-thought extinct saltwater fish is still alive and hiding in a freshwater river somewhere. Maybe remotely possible, but very unlikely. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think when I was reading about the thylacine, it did say like open grasslands where they thrived. But I guess the theory is that maybe they had to adapt. Yeah, I don't know. I sort of agree. I think it's maybe possible, probably not very likely.
And can you guess what video that's from?
Thylacine sightings?
Yes, very good. All right. Next question. First, guess what video it's from. They could have evolved into nurse sharks. We will never know.
That's... which Megalodon video is that? It's probably the first one, is it? Megalodon sightings?
No, it was what killed the Megalodon. But yeah. What's your response to this comment?
I don't think that's very likely, just because there's not really any evidence for that. Like, it's relatively easy to get a Megalodon tooth. I think they shed like 60,000 teeth in one lifetime or something like that. It's thousands of teeth, but there's a huge gap of like 3.6 million years where we don't have anything. So we don't have any any meg teeth, and we don't have any what's the word? What's the word for is it
transitional?
Transition? Yeah, I think there's another word, but we don't really have any other transitional teeth between then and now to lead to the nurse shark.
Do nurse sharks lose their teeth a lot?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't looked into how far back we can trace the nurse shark, but I feel like we can probably trace it back pretty far, and then I'm gonna guess is in a different family. Yeah, that's what I think. Hello. Okay, we had a little technical issue, but we're back.
Okay.
So
yeah. So I'm moving on to the next comment. Please guess the video. What's the point of this video? Facts about an alligator farm. Okay, so what? It's an alligator farm. I mean, easy to guess.
That must be I don't remember the title, but the insane alligator park.
Yeah,
or something.
So what's your response to this?
What's the point of the video?
Yes.
I don't know. I thought some people might find it interesting.
Okay, so what? It's an alligator. It's a alligator farm.
Yeah, but isn't it kind of interesting, the things that happen there? Like alligators going down slides and people swimming with alligators?
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Okay, and then the last comment I thought was pretty good. Please guess what this video is from. Oh, for Pete's sake, you obviously speak English. And assuming that you live here... Oh, sorry. Let me start over.
Oh, this infamous comment.
You obviously speak English, and assuming that you live here in the States, why can't you simply use inches instead of centimeters? 114 centimeters, for crying out loud, about 45 inches, 44.8 to be exact, is so much easier to convey and comprehend. And don't any of you leftist socialists living here in the States try to tell me that it's just as easy to work with centimeters when clearly having to work with triple digits is far more difficult versus working with 2 digits. What video is this from?
This is from my first ever video, What Makes a Man-Eater.
Yes. What's your response to this comment?
Where to even begin? Okay, so I'm going to ask you about this.
Okay.
When you're writing, or when you were writing scientific papers, or reading scientific papers, what measurements do they use?
Centimeters.
Yeah, they use metric. So when I was saying the tiger is this length and this weight, I was using research papers that were written that way. Secondly, I'm not American and I use metric.
But you speak English. That means that you live in the States. That's what it says.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit silly. There's a lot of English speaking places that aren't America. What else? Also, I don't know why there's a few comments where it's like, oh, why are you making it so difficult? There's one where I was like, oh, it's 800 centimeters. And why do you make it so complicated? You could at least say 8 meters. But isn't that very easy to do in your head very quickly?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I will say, because a lot of the audience is American, I do try and include both. Because I don't want to alienate anybody or anything. So I do try and have centimeters and feet, or inches and feet, and kilos and pounds.
Yeah, but you also have to add in stones, and if you're talking about temperature, you have to have Kelvin, just so that no one feels left out, you know?
Yeah. There's another part of that comment I don't know if you saw.
Oh, I don't know. This is just the part I put down. What else?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was said. It was something like, listen, boy. It was for something else. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I said the tiger's bite force. Mm-hmm. I said it in PSI.
Yeah.
And he was like, listen, boy, pounds per inch or whatever is why don't you make up your mind or something. I don't know.
Okay.
That guy was...
Sometimes I read the comments and I laugh. They're very entertaining for me, so...
Yeah. Sometimes I find them pretty entertaining too. There was one. Can I just mention one comment really quick? I don't know if anyone will find this funny. But so the way YouTube works with comments is they have sort of a filter system. So sometimes you can't see a comment on the page. Auto filters it. I think maybe if it has, I don't know, maybe too many swear words or something. But then I can just read it. I can just go to filtered comments and read it. But one time I got a notification for YouTube where they were like, we censored a comment and we don't think you should look at it. So it was even worse than the already censored ones, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was like, how bad could this be? So I was like, clicked on it, and there was like all these warning pop-ups. They were like, I don't know, are you sure? Like, this might offend you. And then the comment was, another crap video from a crap channel.
They just want you to be happy, you know? They don't want...
But they got a lot worse comments than that got through.
That's funny.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. I think we've gone on way longer than we planned.
Oh, really? No.
I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I just don't... maybe it bothers you, or maybe it bothers the listener.
Maybe they're happy. If you're happy, please leave a comment saying, I'm happy with the length of this podcast. And if you're unhappy, please leave a very rude comment.
Yeah. And it might be featured on next week's podcast. All right. Okay, I guess we'll say goodbye until next time.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for talking.